The interspecies relations final exam was legendary for its psychological difficulty. Professor Kane had refined it over decades into a perfect test of focus under adorable distraction. Each cadet received a companion animal at their desk, something cute, harmless, and specifically designed to derail concentration during the 3-hour written examination. The Centaurian cadets had Terran puppies. The Zorvathi had Aldebaran flutterkits. The human cadets received standard-issue kittens that mewed and pawed at their datapads with predictable persistence. Professor Kane moved through the rows, observing with satisfaction as students struggled to maintain focus while tiny creatures demanded attention. This was the test's true purpose, learning to work under conditions of maximum distraction while maintaining compassion. Ignore the animals completely, and you failed. Let them completely derail your work, and you also failed. Balance was key. He reached the back row and stopped cold. Cadet Riley Martinez sat at her desk, datapad ready, exam questions loaded. But instead of a kitten or puppy, 3 fully grown Vraxian cubs flanked her position like palace guards. Kravosh stood to her right, his 7-foot frame rigid with attention. Mara occupied the left position, her golden eyes tracking Kane's every movement. Threnix had positioned himself directly behind Riley's chair, his spine ridges partially extended in a clear warning posture. "Cadet Martinez," Kane said slowly, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet exam hall. "Would you care to explain this?" Riley looked up from her datapad with an expression of perfect innocence. "Sir, the exam parameters stated each cadet would receive a companion animal to care for during testing. I've been caring for these 3 in the medical wing for the past 2 months. They insisted on accompanying me." The guidelines specified small, non-threatening creatures meant to test your ability to focus while showing compassion, Kane said, gesturing at the cubs. "These are trained warriors. They weigh 300 pounds each. They have fangs that can pierce titanium plating. They also have separation anxiety," Riley countered calmly. "Kravosh still has nightmares about the Skelhari attack. Mara refuses to eat unless someone she trusts is present." "Threnix." She reached back without looking, and the massive cub immediately lowered his head so she could scratch behind his ear ridge. "Has abandonment issues from being separated from his pack too young. Taking an exam is stressful enough without worrying about them." Kane felt a headache building behind his eyes. "Cadet Martinez, the purpose of this exercise is to test your ability to maintain professional focus while managing distractions." Kravosh's growl cut him off. It wasn't loud, but didn't need to be. The sound resonated through the floor, through the desks, through every cadet's chest cavity. Around the exam hall, puppies whimpered. Kittens fled under chairs. Even the flutterkits went silent. The message was clear: do not distress our human. Riley sighed and stood, placing a hand on Kravosh's massive arm. "Easy. The professor is just doing his job." She turned to Kane. "Sir, I understand this isn't standard protocol, but with respect, caring for these 3 has taught me more about interspecies relations than any textbook could. They're for a warrior culture that values strength above all else. Yet they've learned to trust someone who can't even lift their armor. They've learned patience, empathy, and that protection works both ways." She gestured to the other cadets struggling with their small animals. "Everyone else is learning to work with distractions. I'm already working with mine. They don't disrupt my focus. They're my focus. Every day, I balance their needs with my duties. Every day, I prove that different species can form bonds that transcend cultural expectations." Kane looked at the cubs, then at Riley, then at his carefully designed exam that had just been completely subverted by a cadet who'd somehow turned 3 deadly predators into emotional support animals. "If they make a single sound during the exam," he said finally, "you all fail." "Understood." "Yes, sir," Riley said, sitting back down. The 3 cubs settled into absolute stillness. For the next 3 hours, they didn't move, didn't growl, didn't make a single noise. They simply stood guard while Riley worked through the most difficult exam of her academy career, their presence somehow both a distraction and a comfort. When Kane collected